Yo, yo, yo. What's good, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. Oh, yeah, I forgot you're a vet. So busy with the whole social movement project. Yeah, I'm a vet. What's good, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. Tyrants Bane here. Welcome to the definition of anarchy. I'm going to discuss something today, man. I'm going to discuss my disappointment. I want to discuss several things, depending on how long I can go without my family, wanting to drag me in the house. So I want to discuss Langley Outdoors Academy first, and why I'm disappointed in Brayton from the channel runner over there, the guy that runs the channel. If you're not familiar with Bradley or Brayton from Langley Outdoors Academy, he is a pro 2A, YouTuber who always gives out information in regards to gun control and this, that, and the third, and always talks about the attacks on our Second Amendment rights. But he has like a positive spin to it. He has a positive spin to it where it's like, look, we're in the fight. We're gonna win this. Look what they're doing. He always gives like a different angle to where he's showing how a lot of times their push for gun control is failing, right? And so it's good to get different perspectives on this type of thing. I like to watch a lot of different people and see what they're talking about. He's very familiar with the laws. He does a lot of research. So, big up to him for that. But I'm disappointed because the latest video he did discussed something about, gun control, certain gun control laws that are working. And I had an issue with that because now what you're doing, you see, you can't be pro 2A. You can't be pro gun rights, right? If you're saying that any gun law, it works. And what is he talking about? Well, he's talking about how there was a mass shooting in Chicago, right? And you guys heard me discuss certain issues in regards to how Chicago gangs, and Chicago criminals get their firearms, right? Very interesting key to this story, which I felt like he should have touched on a little bit more. He didn't, but I was like, man, you missed the plot on this one, right? There were a couple reasons why I was disappointed. So anyway, what happened was there was a shooting, maybe a shooting at a party or something like that, gang related. And the firearms that these guys had, they checked the serial numbers. They traced it all the way back to some guys in the military base, some estate, a few states down the way, right? Now, they got these firearms through straw purchases, okay? Straw purchases, meaning that, okay, I'm going to buy, I have a good record, you know what I'm saying? I don't have any blemishes on my record. I'm not a felon, this, that, and the third. I'm going to buy a gun and I'm going to sell it to you for a marked up price. That's a straw purchase. I'm buying the gun for someone else. I'm going to buy the gun and sell it to somebody without going through the proper channels, right? Without going through the, without following the law, where if you're going to transfer a firearm, you got to go through this FFL bullshit, right? It's all bullshit. Any gun control law, any gun law is bullshit, right? So that's the thing, the straw purchase, right? He's talking about how there was straw purchases between the military guys and the guys the gang members in Chicago. And he said, well, see, that's a law that already works. That's a law on the books that already works, this and the third. But then he says gun control didn't stop that from happening. And I'm like, are you compromising right now? Are you saying, let's keep that law on the books because you were able to trace these firearms back to the original seller? Is that what you're saying? Because in this whole thing, the only crime that was committed were the shootings. Every other crime, every other thing that happened between the original sale and the gang members getting the gun, none of those were crimes. I'm sorry. They weren't, right? They weren't crimes. Because during that process, who got hurt, right? Now, the end result was those gang members used those firearms, which are essentially tools, to hurt other people, right? So you're saying it's good that you're saying that us having to go through an intermediary, right, a government official or a government sanctioned individual like a FFL, right? You feel like that's okay. You feel like that's not an infringement on our First, Second Amendment rights? Well, it is. I should be able to buy anything that I'm able to purchase myself. I should be able to sell it to anybody I want. If you want to call that a straw purchase, where's the crime in that? I'm buying a gun, I'm selling it to somebody else. That's my prerogative. It's my property, right? It's my property. It's not your property. And I'm not responsible for what that individual does with that firearm after I sell it to them. FFL be damned. I shouldn't have to go through FFL to sell my own property. You understand what I'm saying? I should be able to do that freely. So that's where I was disappointed. He felt like, oh, that's a good law to have on the books, blah, blah, blah. Well, see, that's where you muddy the waters, right? Because the whole thing behind Pro 2A is you follow that one phrase. There is a clause in that Second Amendment that outlines pretty much anything dealing with people's rights to keep and bear arms. What does it say? Shall not be infringed. Period. If I can't sell my firearm to somebody else without going through a FFL or something like that, then that's an infringement. If you're saying I can't sell, if you call that a straw purchase, and it's a felony, right? Because it's federally, it's a felony. It's a felony crime, right? That's heavy right there. You telling me if I sell my firearm to somebody else, I can get a felony for that? No, that's not how it should work. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. No compromise. And this is the problem I'm having with some of these so-called Pro 2A YouTubers, right? They compromise on certain things. Once you compromise, you're not Pro 2A. You have to be zero compromise. You have to want to eliminate all gun control laws, gun laws, whatever that are on the books. Anything that has to do with impeding on someone's rights to purchase a firearm, to hold a firearm, to carry a firearm, to shoot a firearm, that's an infringement. Okay, because guess what? Even though it's against the law to have to commit straw purchases, that law did not stop those people in Chicago from committing that mass shooting, right? That gang shooting. That law didn't stop that. What happened was, oh, well, somebody was shot to death. Now we can go and instead of just focusing on the person that did the shooting, now you got to know, well, who'd you get it from? Who got it to you before him? And you want to trace it all the way back to the motherfucking manufacturer? Like, what are you doing? Okay, the person that shot the motherfucker committed murder or committed attempted murder. That's the only crime you need to be worried about. Focusing on the tool and who got the tool and did the tool have a serial number and who sold the tool to the guy, and like it's a bunch of bullshit, right? It's just another way to control the flow of freedom in this country, right? So when you say that the law worked, what did the law work to do? Well, he said it worked to catch all the criminals that were involved in getting those firearms to where they got to in Chicago. But those weren't crimes. Those weren't criminals, right? They were selling. It was a mutually consensual transaction. One guy wanted something. Another guy was willing to sell it to him. They're not responsible. That seller is not responsible for what that person does with that tool, right? It's like saying, I mean, if you're going to do that, you might as well say, you know what? Let's put serial numbers on hammers. You got to go through you got to get a federal hammer arms license person to sell your hammer to somebody else. It's a tool, right? A knife, right? A utility knife, screwdriver, all those things that you can hurt people with, right? You can kill people with a screwdriver. You can kill people with a hammer. You can kill people with a nail gun. You can kill people with a powder actuated tool. You know what I'm saying? That you use in a construction site. So why aren't we doing that? So if I sell my hammer to somebody without going through the government, without going through a government official, is that a straw man purchase? Like if I go buy a hammer and it's the last one on the shelf, right? It's the last one. It's like one of those super valuable hammers, and I go buy it. Somebody else wants it. I should be able to sell that hammer to him at a marked up price with no problem. I don't have to go through a intermediary for that. I just give him the goddamn hammer. It's the same with a tool. I mean, the same with a firearm. Firearm ain't nothing but a tool, and it's not a. See, when they always try to, personify the firearm, right? They always try to personify the firearm, right? They want to anthropomorphize it. Okay, like that idiot senator, I forgot what his name is. I think he was a Florida senator. He said, at the end of the day, the gun is what's going to do the killing. Just plain stupid. And these are the people that we vote for to represent us. People that say stupid shit like that, right? And like Rahm Emanuel says, never let a good tragedy go to waste. Because at that time, you can do things that you otherwise would not be able to do if that tragedy didn't happen. So they always take advantage of some type of tragedy to assert more control over you. And the people that recognize it, if you recognize that, then why are you saying that why are you talking about how there's a law that works, a gun control law that works? Because that law didn't stop those people from Chicago from killing with that firearm. It doesn't make sense to me how people think sometimes. Oh, what's good? Real life, no gimmicks. Happy Sunday, man. What's up, Big Mike? Yeah, no compromise, man. You gotta be no compromise. Because you can't, like, he'll say things like, oh, well, we don't need any more laws. The laws we got are work just like as they are. No, they don't work. Well, they do work. They work for them to be able to control us. That's the way it works. Like, okay. Because every time you create a law, you're taking away a freedom, right? I mean, it's very simple, right? Don't kill anyone. Don't steal from anybody. Don't violate people's privacy. Don't violate people's space. Don't put hands on nobody. Those are simple things, right? Anything that leads up to that is irrelevant. How you do it is irrelevant. The fact is that you did it. Doesn't matter what you did it with. You know what I'm saying? Because people are always going to have access to those things, right? People are always going to have access to firearms. People are going to always have access to drugs. People are always going to have access to knives, hammers. People can kill somebody with almost anything in a house. You can't ban everything. So that's the whole point. You can't ban everything that somebody can kill somebody with and be like, okay, now we're safe. Because how are we supposed to live our lives now? Right? How are we supposed to live our lives? We're supposed to be on some demolition man shit. Just, we can't touch each other. We can't cuss. It's just ridiculous. It's asinine. What's up, Spicy Kai? So that's my thing, man. Because look at what we're doing. Look at what we're doing. We're Second Amendment advocates, right? I am, for sure. Not even Second Amendment, because y'all know how I feel. The Second Amendment does not grant you the right to keep and bear arms. It's already there. It was already you're born with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not even so much that you're born with the right to keep and bear arms, but you're born with the right to defend yourself by any means necessary with any tool necessary. So not just firearms, right? But, we sit up here and we act like We're pro 2A, we're pro gun rights, we're pro rights and all this other shit. But we're always looking to the system that oppresses us to change things for us. We're always going, you know what, let's go through the court system and see if we can get them to change this and change that. But it's their system. And this is the point I was making yesterday. You can't go through their system. You can't go to the oppressor to ask them to stop oppressing you, right? You can't do that. Well, you can, but you'll be wasting your time. If you think you're going to get anywhere going to the government system, going to the oppressive system, going through a tyrant, hey, Mr. Tyrant, can you please give us our freedoms back? It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. How it works is if you keep going to them for shit, they keep telling you no, and you go home with your tail between your legs, you're going to end up like China. You're going to end up like Russia. You're going to end up like North Korea. You know what I'm saying? Or you go on the other side of the spectrum, you can end up like Venezuela, Brazil, whatever the case may be. You can't get your power from the people that have power over you by going through their system. You can't say, you know, I'm gonna navigate through your system to see if I can get some of my freedoms back or gain power. You have to separate yourself from the system, gain some level of independence, and do for yourself. Because expecting the government to do shit for you, and it won't end up disastrous, it's a big ask, right? Look what happened last year, man, with the Modelo 19. When that whole thing started, oh, they wanted to take care of us. They gave us these stimulus checks and this stimulus packages and all this other stuff, all this boosting unemployment, this, that, and the third, all this shit. Oh yeah, we're gonna help you out. Yeah. But in the meantime, what were they doing? They were forcing us to lock down. Hundreds of thousands of small businesses got shut down. Over almost 20 million people, almost 30 million people were unemployed. Hundreds of thousands of small businesses permanently shut down. And they gave us what, $1,200 and a few $100 extra, a few $100 a week on unemployment. And what was that supposed to fix? So now what you're doing is you're taking our money that you extort from us, and you're going to give it to us in the form of $1,200 payment that's supposed to cover us for what, 3 or 4 months until you gave us a $600 payment. Wait, no, longer than that, 8 months. $1,200 for 8 months. Some people got $400 extra a week or $600, however much it was. That was supposed to what? What was that supposed to do for the people who you forced to stay in the house, whose businesses you forced to shut down? That was supposed to cover what? But what are you doing with that? How'd you get that money? Well, you took it from us, but we're already in a deficit, right? So any money you take from us, it doesn't really do anything, right? Because it's going toward the deficit, is going toward government spending, and now you're giving us some of our money back, right? But what you're doing is you're giving foreign countries billions of dollars for stupid shit. You're giving countries billions of dollars to fund their wars, to fund their armies, gender studies, all this bullshit. And you give us what? So $1,400, $600. No, it's $1,200, $1,800, and another. What was it? $1,200. What was the last one? $1,400. Oh, it's okay. $1,200, $600. That's $1,800, and then another $1,400. That's $3,000 over the course of almost a year. No. 2,000. Okay, $3,200. $3,200 over the course of a year for those of us who continued working, but had to take less hours, like what happened to me and all this other shit. That's what happens when you rely on your government to do shit for you when you're going through something. When you're going through something that they forced you to go through, right? They put you through this shit. They locked you down. They shut your businesses down. They fined you if you kept your businesses open, right? Those people who had their businesses open, some of them fined for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we're going to continue to go to them for what? Every time they screw us and shove that pool stick up our ass, we go to them to do what? How many times are we going to go to this government and ask them to do shit for us? How many times before we realize maybe this is not a good idea? Because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting, right? Protesting to the government, right? Going to the Capitol, protesting. Hell, storming the Capitol. None of that shit works. None of that shit does anything. They don't give a shit. You think Nancy Pelosi gives a hot fuck about you? Or anybody? They don't, man. They call themselves representing you, but what they represent is their own interest. I mean, I don't understand how we can't see that. And somebody like an intelligent person like Braden from Langley Outdoors, Virginia, you think he would know something? He would know a little bit or something about that. I don't know, man. I mean, how many of us are left? How many of us are willing to say, you know what? We should stop going to the government. Right? We should stop going and expecting our so-called leaders to do what we elected them to do. What did we elect them to do, really, though? You know what we elected them to do? We elected them, not we, because I don't vote. Y'all, those of you who vote, you elect your legislators and your politicians and your governors and this, that, and third. You vote for them to rule over you. That's literally what you're doing, right? It's what they call a constitutional republic. Really, it's a democratic republic because, it's a representative government, right? But because you vote for those representatives, that's what makes it democratic. So it's a democratic republic. You're voting for people to rule over you, to create laws without your input. I mean, you can give all the input you want, but they don't have to follow your input. They don't have to go by they don't even follow any of your suggestions, any of that. All they can say, "Oh, okay, I heard you." Hang up the phone and whatever you do and ask you return your email. "Oh, I hear you. We're dedicated to doing what's best for the people of this country, and we have to represent so many people and blah blah blah." They're so full of shit, and that's how they get you. Because it's not just about the individual, right? They can't represent one person, right? They're supposed to represent the people as a whole. Well, how do you do that when there's so many different people with so many different ideas, so many different wants and needs? How do you represent millions of people? How do you represent that many people? And you don't even know you don't even know a tenth of these people personally. How many of these people that you represent? How many of these millions of people that you represent in your district, in your state, right? How many of them do you really know? To know what they need. How do you know what they need? How many people do you reach out to and ask, what do you need? What do you need from us? How can we help make your life better? How can we do better with protecting your rights? Has anybody ever called you? Any of your representatives ever reach out to you and ask you those types of questions? Any of your representatives reach out to you to ask you anything, to talk to you about anything outside of election outside of an election cycle. Man, I mean, maybe it's just me. I ain't never got no phone call. Shot Killer says, I'm pro-gun. Brad Campbell says, stupidity kills more than anything else, and you don't need a firearm to kill. Exactly. New York. Shot. What's up, Spicy Guy? Why'd you time out New York? Yeah, I don't vote for people that. Yeah, that's why I don't vote. I know, right? Well, if you're not voting, it's not a. Well, you're not doing anything by not voting. Yeah, I'm standing on principle. Just like people who do vote, you're virtue signaling, saying yes. You're telling the controllers, I submit to your rule. That's what happens when you vote. You're letting them know. The more people that turn out to vote, the more people they know that they have full control over. The more people they know has fallen for the okie doke, and that gives them a good gauge of how much longer they have to control you. He said F you, but anyway, you growing. He said F me? Oh, well. Nope, not growing my own food yet, but I have some little sprout pods that I'm gonna start using. No, I need to get to some land. I'm not growing any food right now, unfortunately. I have a lot of storable food. I have a lot of stored food, but I'm not really growing anything right now. I need to get my land and all the other shit. But like I say, I got a lot of storable food. So, shit happens, then we good for a little bit. Yes, that's what he said. I'm about to get on your ass about that. Who, me? Hey. Yeah, I've watched, Shot Killers, I've watched some of the Canadian prepper stuff. And I got hip to, I forgot what they're called. But they're this perma farming or permaculture farmer person. I forgot his name. Somebody put me up on him. I like that channel. Like, he has a lot of land. He's always showing you how to do compost, hot compost. Just talking about permaculture and, just basically reusing the things that you putting the food that you eat or the scraps from the food you eat back into the soil and keeping it going like that. It is really dope channel. That's how I want to live. Real shit, I mean, it's so fulfilling, and you got all that green, you got the animals. It's just, to me that's a complete life. Oh, you been growing your ass off, Spicy Guy? That's what's up. You should do some videos on that. What you got growing up? Yeah, I need to grow something. I mean, you can grow in a fucking apartment, right? Just you can grow some sprouts and things like that. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna grow some sprouts, really, for sure. I have a lot of emergency seeds. I have a shitload of emergency seeds with easy to grow vegetables and shit like that. So I have that. And then I have storable food, emergency seeds. I got MREs, shit like that, So that's what I got right now. Until I get to, my land where I really want to start growing. But yeah, it's all about self-sustainability, and I stay on that, man. I'm very consistent in the things that I say, man. I try to stay consistent in my beliefs, and because I'm no compromise. You can't compromise when it comes to your rights, because if you compromise, then it's like, okay, well, do you really believe in this? Oh, so you do want government in your life. Either you want government in your life or you don't want government in your life. Either you want a ruler or you don't want a ruler. Some people want rulers, man, and that's okay. I mean, if you want a ruler, that's fine. Just don't force your ruler onto me, right? If you want to be ruled, go ahead. That's you. Do you. I'm going to do me, not being ruled over here, minding my own business. Stay out of mine, and we won't have a problem. You can't compromise, man. Yes, you are one of the reasons I started this. Oh, that's what's up, Spicy Kai. Look at that. That's what that, that's what I want to do. I want to motivate people to be self-sufficient. Even though I'm not 100% there yet, I know that if some shit happened, I know I could take care of my family for a while without going to a FEMA camp. You understand what I'm saying? That's really what it's all about, right? Until you get your own land and boom, you're completely self-sustainable. You can be completely isolated. You can be completely removed from the grid and survive for years and years and years and even generations without going to the government for anything. That is the ultimate goal. But until then, you want to be able to survive long enough to live through the shit hit the fan situation. So it's very important that you have storable emergency food, generators, tools, shit like that, hammer and a nail, you know what I'm saying? These are the type of things that you're going to need. And so that's what I talk about, because this is not sustainable, right? Government rule is not sustainable. Like, this is probably the longest empire to ever sustain itself, right? The United States of America, that the Constitution and how it works, the longest thriving constitution of any country in the world. But just because the way it was built, right? Just because the way it was written, the way it was meant to be interpreted, right? It's an ambiguous document. It's deliberately ambiguous so that it can be changed and formed to meet the needs of the times, except for certain amendments, right? Like the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights. Those things are not ambiguous. They're pretty much clear, cut, and dry. And so, but that might as well be Swiss cheese, except for the Fourth Amendment. I don't like some things in the Fourth Amendment, right? Because there's some things in there that's very subjective, like without probable cause. Who determines what probable cause is, right? That police officer that can make anything up and say, well, I had probable cause because of this. And pull anything out of his ass. So there's certain things in the Bill of Rights that need to be tweaked a little bit. But at the end of the day, there are some things in the Constitution that are not ambiguous, like the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, pretty clear. First Amendment says there shall be no law. Yet they continue to make laws that censor us, that infringe on our rights, infringe on our freedom of speech, right? Freedom of the press. I mean, just look at what happened with Edward Snowden, Chelsea Handler, or whatever you want to call him, right? They went to the media, became whistleblowers. They were supposed to be protected, but due to the Espionage Act, they were able to violate their First Amendment rights. That bullshit. So they don't even follow the Constitution. They're constantly violating 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242, right? Deprivation of rights, conspiracy to violate people's rights. Those two codes right there. Deprivation of rights under the color of law, right? They do it every day. Politicians, cops, judges, all these people, they constantly violate that law, yet they're still kicking and living, right? They're still walking around free. We can arrest, based on that code alone, every single politician, every single politician that creates a law that takes a right away could be jailed under that code. Every police officer that places you under arrest, right? That actually even just detains you, that harasses you, right? That forces you to interact with them when you have done nothing wrong. Okay, you went a little bit over the speed limit, or they think you did something wrong and they pulled you over, shit like that. You didn't do anything, like you didn't commit a crime, but they're constantly fucking with you and harassing you. Every single police officer that has done that has violated 18 U.S. Code 242. And if they arrest you while violating your rights, guess what? They can get life in prison or execution. But they're still walking around free. So if they don't have to go follow their laws, if they don't have to follow the Constitution, these people that fall under this qualified immunity bullshit, right? Which is not just police officers, cops, politicians, all these people, qualified immunity, which is just basically about them not being able to get sued, but still, and they have other blankets of protection, but they're constantly violating this. They're constantly violating the Constitution. They're constantly violating 18 U.S. Code 241, 18 U.S. Code 242, and they're still walking around free. They're still walking around, ruling over you, standing behind their podiums, telling you what you gonna do with your life, telling you what they gonna do, telling you how much money they gonna take out of your pocket, telling you, oh, wear a mask or get the vaccine, your choice. That type of bullshit. That tweet alone should have motherfucking Joe Biden under arrest. He should be placed under arrest for that. Pure violation. You can't tell somebody that, right? He's a public. He has to be held at a higher standard. He's the president. He can't go around giving people ultimatums to violate their rights. Oh, get your rights violated this way, or get them violated that way. But what is he walking around free for? And those people, who back the blue and all this bullshit, right? Oh, the blue, the cops, the poor cops, they go out and they risk their lives every day. They risk their lives every day. To do what? Violate people's rights? What are they doing that's so heroic? They ride around in their little patrol cars, right? And they pull you over for little infractions. Why aren't they arresting the politicians that are committing these crimes, that are violating 18 U.S. Code 241, 242? Why aren't they placing the politicians under arrest? They supposed to work for you. You pay their salary. You see how backwards this shit is? You see that? But we expect them to do shit for us when we need them to? Is this the world that we're really living in right now? Is this at some point, right? They're not even going to have to pretend like they're doing shit for us, like China. Excuse me. What needs to happen first? First, what needs to happen is they need to get rid of all these 400 million guns, all these 400 million firearms that are in the people's hands right now. That is the one thing standing between them and standing between us and full-on tyranny. Our freedoms and full-on tyranny. That's the only thing keeping them from that jackbooted bullshit, that Gestapo style rule, that Second Amendment. Without that, you got nothing else. You might as well kiss all your rights goodbye. And do we honestly believe that if we go through their system, if we try to go through their system to ensure that we keep our rights, to keep and bear arms, so that they won't go full on tyranny on us, you think that that's going to work? Do you think that that's going to work? I mean, look what we got going on here, man. I talked about this the other day. Major Williams is talking about how he wants to restore California's rights to keep and bear arms, right? He wants to restore that. That's what he says. But neither your Republican representatives or conservative talking heads are shining a light on this guy, right? They're focused on Caitlyn Jenner or Bruce Jenner, whatever you want to call him, right? That's what they're focused on. They completely dismissed Major Williams. But even if we got him in there, you think that he would have to go through the legislators to even get something like that put in front of him for him to sign, right? Unless he did an executive order striking, abolishing all the, he could do that, an executive order to end all the gun laws in California. You think they would really let that happen? I don't think so. Let me see what y'all talking about, man. The Hobbit Kai says, hey, man, will you be talking about the situation in Israel? Oh, absolutely. Shah killings, says 100%. James Miller says, I don't see how conservatives can still support cops. Even with all the gun control, mask mandates, and lockdowns, they're enforcing all of these liberal laws. Yeah, because they suffer from cognitive dissonance. It's as simple as that. It's the like their brains, they don't understand the concept, right, of true freedom. So when you speak true freedom to them, they still want their statists that still need some level of control over them. They want to be ruled. They want to be ruled. They want cops running around to give them that false sense of security, that false sense of safety, right? That's what they want. I don't know what it is. It's a psychological crippling effect. I have no idea. But this has been in the making for decades, man. Jimmy Nguyen says Second Amendment is just in case the First Amendment don't work. Yeah. The Second Amendment is the amendment that tops all amendments. It's the paramount to our freedoms, right? Not the Second Amendment, but our right to keep and bear arms, keeping that intact. That is the linchpin. That is the pin on the grenade that holds the spoon in place, that keeps the fuse from starting. That's it. That's what the Second Amendment is. It's that pin, right? Liberty for All says 90% of politicians are attorneys. Who do attorneys take on L2? The bar. Exactly. Where's the bar from? Britain. Ooh, great point. Who does cops get protected by? Attorneys. Cops are standing army for the Britain. Liberty for All. That's a good take. That's a good perspective, man. Different. What's up, Xander? Jimmy Nguyen says, I'm a moderate conservative, and I don't know why in 2020 all of a sudden they support police, which is weird because before all of that they hated cops and want to use the Second Amendment for their protection. Well, I don't think they hated cops. I think they still love cops, but they call themselves supporting the Second Amendment. But now you see their true colors, right? You see their true colors. It's this left-right paradigm lie that they have to hold up. It's that narrative. It's like, well, if the left hate cops, then we on the right have to love cops, right? I don't even think their belief in the right to keep and bear arms are genuine. I think it's because they know the left wants to take the guns. They're just being contrary and vice versa. These people are just being contrary to each other. Okay, the left likes this, we gotta hate it. The right hates this, we gotta love it. You know, that type of shit. And it's very dangerous, man. Like the attention is focused on so much bullshit. On so much bullshit, and that's exactly where they want our attention to be placed. And as far as Israel and Palestine, you can thank our government for that, right? We're funding this war. We give them what, $500 billion a year towards their military, towards other shit. That's how they're able to strafe. That's how they're able to glass the motherfucking Gaza Strip. These people are using our money to terrorize the Palestinians, to remove them from their homes because they feel like they're the chosen people. They have, this is our spot. And can you do that here in the United States? Imagine if a Native American went to your house and said, you know what, motherfucker? Are you Native? Do you have indigenous blood? No, okay, get the fuck out. We're taking your house over. Can you imagine if that happened here? Do you think that they would let the indigenous folks of the United States run over to Washington, D.C., to the White House and kick them motherfuckers out of the White House. Do you think that would be okay? Do you think that would be okay anywhere? Yo, you know what? We're the chosen people of this land because the Native Americans could do that. We're the, you know, we're the Native, we're the chosen people of the United States. You got to go. Otherwise, we're gonna bomb the shit out of you. Do you think that would jive here in the United States or any other country? These motherfuckers are going up to people's houses and saying, "Get the fuck out. You can't live here anymore. This is mine. We're coming back." Yeah. Are you serious? But we're going to roll with Israel fucking with Palestine in that manner. Where they do that at? Where they do that at? What was it? What was it? Like, what's cracking? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how this is. My mind is blown. My mind is blown. All the proxy wars that we're involved in, thanks to Israel. What do you think? What do you think would happen? What would you think would happen if the Samoans and, you know, the people of Hawaii said, "Get the fuck up out of here. We taking our shit back"? Do you think that our government would be like, "Okay, my bad"? No. They'll get slaughtered. They'll take that as an act of aggression. They will call that an insurrection. They will call it an insurrection. They would label them as terrorists, and they wouldn't have any rights. They'll be jailed to become political prisoners. And because they'll be considered terrorists, because they kept renewing the Patriot Act, well, you know what happens from there, right? But we feel like we have to go through their system to get shit done for us. Killer. What's up, man? Let me see what y'all talking about now. Also, what up with the CDC now telling us not to wear a mask after vaccinated? I don't even give a fuck anymore. I'll say those words. Fuck it. It is to distract us with all that's going on. I love how sheep still wear. It's crazy. Let me tell y'all what happened on my. I'm gonna tell y'all what happened, man. Bang! I'm a sheep. Real shit. The Habakkuk says the thing is, Israel could lead to multiple wars, if not World War III. Yeah, because Israel goes unchecked by anybody, like, right? By the United States, they do whatever the fuck they want. Remember, Trump was in office and he made peace. Yeah, I missed those years. Now we are back. Trump, and then that's the thing, okay? That should give you guys, anybody that felt like we could go through the system to get shit done, to have shit happen for us, to make America great again. Look at what happened with Trump. He had 4 years, right? But what did he do in those 4 years? The bump stock ban. They just threw that out, by the way. But the bump stock ban, because it's basically unconstitutional to tell us that we can't own a piece of plastic that we could put on a firearm. Anyway, Trump, what did he do? Well, toward the end of his term, yeah, he said he wanted to get the troops out. But what happened? What happened when he told them to pull the troops out of Afghanistan? Anybody know? What happened? They said, okay, Pimpin', I got you. But it never happened. They lied and told him they were pulling them out. Never did it. So look at that as a learning lesson. Even if you get your boy in there, like Trump, y'all think he's gonna make America great, and get us on the road to freedom and this, that, and the third, right? But he believed in law and order. So he wanted to use their system. He wanted to use the system that is so entrenched and so established in this country to do what? To make things better for us? No. All he did was stall for a little bit. If he was real, if he was about that life, all he did was stall him out for a little bit. Now look what's happening. Biden's in there, snap of his finger. Over 30 executive orders in a week. That's what happens when you try to go through that system to get shit done. I'll give you a perfect example of that on a smaller scale in my local, right? I'm in a union and you have meetings. You have union meetings or whatever. And so you can vote on certain things, right? Let's say you decide to show up with a bunch of people and vote for something to happen. Guess what happens that next week? If the people that are really in control of the union, right, the officers that have all the pull and can get all the guys in there to vote a certain way, what happens then? Well, they can vote to reverse the thing that you just voted to happen. That's what happens when you use a democratic system. That's what happens when you go through a system like that. Robert's Rules of Order and all that bullshit. What do you think it's designed for? I mean, everything that Trump did that could have been good, Biden is erasing it. Jay with open eyes. Israel says, Israel and U.S. are controlled by the same folks. Everyone in this chat should look up the Jesuits and IHS. Yeah, they have their foothold in most countries in the world. We're pawns on the chessboard. Yep. What's up, Christopher Alexander? Much love, man. Oh, always safe travels. Well, I try. Jay with open eyes says the real terrorists are the people in the suits that get up on TV, perform federal psyops, in propaganda, and lie to us every single day. Word up, man. Christopher, exactly, Christopher Alexander. Israel trained law enforcement through a co-op task force fleet training. Yeah, real shit. They treat us like the Muslims in Israel here in the United States. War of attrition. Yep. Yep. Exactly. No one God can fix it. No one God can fix it. And so I'm trying to tell you guys, man. Say hi to my niece. Trump, to be honest, could have done better, but he, for some reason, messed up a lot of... Yeah, you like ending media censorship, brutal police brutality. Jimmy, he had no choice but to screw a lot of shit up. Because it's a labyrinth in there. Let me tell you something. If you had a labyrinth between yourself and you're in the desert, you stumble upon a labyrinth, right? Or a maze, okay? And it's made of straw. It's a straw maze. What would you do? Are you going to... And on the other side, you have an oasis, right? But the longer you take to get there, the lower the water table is going to drop too, right? The longer you take, the lower the water table is. So what are you going to do? Are you going to try to navigate that labyrinth that has snakes and rats and tigers and lions all up and through that bitch? Or are you going to get a match and set that motherfucker on fire? What would you rather do? I'm just talking about like in a novel. Are you going to navigate that labyrinth, or are you going to set that motherfucker on fire? It's made of hay, right? It's a paper tiger. Paper is flammable. Hay is flammable. What you gonna do? Or here's another option. Fuck that oasis over there. What I'm gonna do I'm gonna go. Oh, I'm gonna step away from this labyrinth, this maze here, and I'm gonna dig until I find my own water. You really got choices. They act like you don't. You can't opt out of the system because from birth, your parents place you in the system. They sign a contract with the state. But you have other choices. Right? That's really what I'm trying to push, you guys. Excuse me. Police reform, yeah, you can't reform the police. You just gotta get rid of it completely. Like, you really have to abolish it, but you got to do it in the right way. Like, you can't just end it one day. You have to transition. There has to be a transitional period. Let's see. Israel was the first country to come out with the vaccine passports, and they're called green cards. Yep, just straight mockery. The J words needed cards in World War II. Yeah. Exactly. Jay with open eyes. Christopher Alexander says politics is sick, fucking freaking joke. Absolutely, man. Jay would it's kabuki theater, man. They literally wouldn't allow me to say the J word in the chat. Like, you know what's funny? The past few videos that I posted, people were posting comments, and you know, you can see them in the notifications, but when you go to the actual video, they're not posted. They got rid of them. And like, I'm like, well, why the fuck did they delete this one? I swear, like, no, this one guy did not say anything bad, anything negative toward anybody. He didn't cuss, none of that. And they deleted his comment. They cracking down, y'all. Flick that cigarette. Exactly, Christopher. Take special being Indian that have special resentment for us. I know they do. Because y'all, let me tell you something. The natives, which also include black folks, right? Let me tell you, like, they want to tell you that they brought millions of people over here on slave ships, of black folks. No, there were black people already here, right? We were already coexisting and native to this land with the Native Americans. We were already here. But they have a special hate for the Native Americans because the Native Americans fought their ass off. Fought their ass off. They didn't have the advantage of the fire stick. It was that fire stick that really, and the art of deception, man. The art of deception. But you know, they'll tell you, oh, well, you know, the South Americans, they were killing each other and, you know, sacrificing and cannibalizing this, that, and the third. So we're supposed to believe the conqueror, right? That wants to have this savior complex. Well, you know, I have to feel better about slaughtering a bunch of Native Americans. So I'm going to say, because I don't understand their culture, they were cannibalizing each other and they were savages. Yeah. They sacrificed to the sun gods and shit. Yeah. Beautiful. So that way, people like, I don't know, Steven Crowder and them, they can say, well, Steven Crowder and ABL, and the best thing that happened to this country was Christopher Columbus coming over here and civilizing everybody. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have this great country. That's the thing, right? Well, you know, Africans sold their people into slavery. I'm gonna tell you what happened there. I'm gonna tell you what really happened. You see, there were agreements between, because you can believe what you want to believe, what history you want to believe. I'm gonna believe what history I want to believe, okay? The history that I learned and researched. You believe what you want, I believe what you want. You believe what you want, and you see what makes more sense to you. But, and this is even starting to come out in some of, in when I went to college a few years ago, I was like, yo, why are you saying that the slaves came over here as indentured servants. Now, this is a white guy, a white history teacher. He didn't have to explain why they said that, but he told me. He said that's because the initial set of slaves that came over here were supposed to be indentured servants, not slaves. You see where I'm going with this? So I was very interested in that. I was like, what you mean by that? They didn't come over here as slaves? He was like, no. They didn't become slaves until they got here. They were forced into slavery when they got here. So I looked into it a little bit more, talked to him, this, that, and third. He's a historian, whatever. Turns out, those Africans that they tell you sold their people into slavery, that's not what happened. They had an agreement to share in the resources and whatnot of this new land that was discovered. That's how they were able to get so many people on the ships to come over here. But there were already people here though. There were already black indigenous folks here, right? For hundreds of thousands of years, or tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of years before Columbus showed up. Why do you think that they thought they were Indians? From, East India with the dot? Because if you know what indigenous Indians look like, they're really dark. Really dark. Anyway, they didn't think they were sending people over here as slaves. They thought they were sending indentured servants over there that would help bring back the spoils, right, of this new land. But they want you to feel better about slavery, so they'll tell you they want Africans to share in the responsibility. So they say, you know what, they sold each other into slavery. Now, were there, like, if there were warring tribes in Africa, or even in certain other indigenous amongst indigenous cultures, if there were warring tribes, did they have like POWs to a degree that were thralls and became assimilated into that society? Yeah, but it wasn't like chattel slavery, right? There's a difference between chattel slavery and thralls and assimilation, right? So, yeah, you can spin that, you can spit that narrative and believe that narrative, but I choose to believe the one that makes more sense, the one that is more feasible and more logical and includes some common sense to even contemplate. Let me see. Shotgun says there were still blacks brought over. Oh yeah, there were blacks, but not damn near as many as they say there were. If we were already here, why is it that they're, because they, are you kidding me? Why do we need to migration north? Because they slaughtered most of them. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When they came here, why do you think there aren't more Native Americans than there are? Why do you think there aren't more Native Americans than there are? Because they slaughtered, they destroyed whole bloodlines of tribes. Slaughtered them because many of them refused to be slaves. That's why they were slaughtered. Whole tribes extinct. You'll never see anybody from those bloodlines, from those tribes anymore, because they were slaughtered. That's why. They culled the herd. They killed the motherfuckers. The Comanche stopped the cavalry special ops. Oh, indeed. Brad Campbell says, I live in eastern Oklahoma. I'm waiting to see what happens with Native Americans since McGritt case. What's the McGritt case? By the way, about the jab update, back to normal. Now I'm going to wait a few years. Well, hopefully nothing bad happens to you, man. It might not, you might be all right. Yep, draw your own conclusions. Exactly. Besides, most of the slaves from Africa were brought to the Caribbean islands anyway. Yeah. Yes. Yes, exactly. Most of them were brought to the Caribbean islands, and that's why they look a little bit more African than the people up here. They look a little bit closer to African. Let's see. Lighten it up, homie. That's what's up. Nabakai says, look at what happened to the Aborigines in Australia. They were laws put in place until late 1900s, and they made them second class. Not only are they depleted their population. That's what they do. If they go to your country and they want to conquer it, and you put up a fight, they will destroy most of your population. That's just a fact. Jay with open eyes, and you say that to say that none of them came here. No, most of them did not, though. It wasn't millions of slaves. Your number says, I don't believe the Christopher Columbus story. His initial CCC, the third letter, so 33, like masonry, 33, which, yeah, a lot of shit in that. A lot going on with those gematria. Christopher Alexander says, that's how you can tell which tribes are related to each other, language, and speak. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Chelsea doesn't exist. False stories make history. Exactly. I don't believe shit them motherfuckers say. Ooh, this is Africans sold the people to slaves. So, it's stupid. And if they did, guess what? They owe reparations too. They're just as culpable. Exactly. We were the first Holocaust. Exactly. Hitler based his system on the reservation system. Yep. Exactly. Child killings said, Jay with open eyes said, child killings, I'm pretty sure some slaves still came over here, but who really knows? Even the stuff I researched could be fabricated. Yeah. What's up, Anarchy? I mean, you can't. I base what I say on the fact that they found the oldest skeleton they found in this. Well, it was a skull. Was a Negroid skull, not a Mongoloid, which is what Native American basically essentially have, which is basically like a mix. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but yeah, Negroid, black. All right. So that, not just that, but other things like the Olmec, right? The Olmecs and all that stuff. A number of things, the pyramids and shit like that, certain systems, including that. But that's purely scientific based, the whole skull thing. What's up, Chelsea doesn't exist? Well, I'm gonna get out of here, y'all. They don't have the infrastructure we have. Who don't? God guy says, at Old Head, I've seen parts of it and disgusting. The stolen generation was around until 1970s. How can you make it illegal for a state to just walk in and out and take Aboriginal kids and give them? That's how they roll. You can't, I mean, unless you like them, you can't really dive into their mentality. Like, what makes you tick? What makes a motherfucker tick like that? Somebody who just wants, they're so greedy for power, and they're so greedy for resources that they have to control everything. They want to just go, they want to run the entire world. Yeah. All right, guys, I gotta get out of here, man. It's been great talking to you guys, man. Y'all stay up. Yeah, man, and just look, stop looking for the system to do shit. Stop like trying to go through the system to get shit done. I just don't understand why people still think that is a thing. But anyway, I mean, you can get certain things done as long as you're operating within the system and you can manipulate it and do little things and take what you can, and you know what I mean. But if you really want real change, if you really want real improvement, you can't keep doing what you've been doing. All right. Much love. Peace out. And I'll holler at y'all later. And I'll pick you guys up tomorrow.